Hey guys, Miss Moore here. It's week 9 with our vocabulary words. We are halfway done. I'm kind of doing them out of order today. It just makes more sense because a genre is a category of literature. The main literary types are fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and drama. As you can see here, it talks about literature and it goes into all these different categories. So we divided into poetry and prose. Last week I told you that prose is just speaking normally, and that's divided into nonfiction, fiction, drama, and then of course poetry has all sorts of different categories. So poetry, nonfiction, fiction, drama, which of course can be broken down even more. So genre. Mr. Peterson has it in his room too. So folk tales is one of the genres for fiction, and it is a tale or legend originating in traditional, so it comes from someplace and it talks about those people among a people or folk, especially one forming part of the oral tradition or the common people. So basically these are stories that have been spoken from generation to generation. So here's a picture of a man talking to the tribal children, spreading the stories from generation to generation. We have folk tales from Japan and Mexico and Scandinavia, West Africa. Tales are abuelita told, Chinese folk tales. We have La Llorona, which is our play that we just did. Little Red Riding Hood is one, Johnny Appleseed, and perhaps you've heard of urban legends. Well, urban legends are kind of the modern day folk tales. So our next word is foreshadow, and foreshadow is an author's use of hints or clues to suggest that events will occur later in the story. So foreshadowing is writing where here's a picture of a guy coming in. Okay, let me start that one over. Our next word is foreshadow, which is an author's use of hints or clues to suggest that events will occur later in the story. And if you think of foreshadow, if you can think of this as before, and it's clues that come before, like here's a warning before you get to the hole. Again, watch out, there's a hole coming. Foreshadowing, remember there are clues. They can be real or false, might just be there to throw you off. But it's done to create suspense, and it keeps the reader wondering. So foreshadowing is clues or hints because it's before. Our next word is Gothic, which is a type of fiction. So the genre is Gothic fiction. It is referring to a type of novel that emerged in the 18th century, which is the 1700s, that uses mystery, suspense, and sensational supernatural occurrences to evoke terror. Mr. Peterson has this definition that says dealing with horror, supernatural, despair, death, decay, madness, ghosts, the grotesque, and other dark subjects. This is Gothic architecture, which was created in the medieval times, and the reason Gothic got its name is because the settings were pseudo-Gothic buildings. So here's some Gothic stories. We have Frankenstein, we have Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Here's a castle that looks very Gothic, Dracula, and Edgar Allan Poe is an author who we will be reading about and reading his stories. So he wrote Gothic novels and short stories. Our last word this week is historical fiction. It's a type of genre, and it is a realistic fiction that takes place in a particular time period in the past. Often the setting is real, but the characters are made up from the author's imagination. Here's a book about 9/11, and it's not a true story in that the characters are made up. However, it is a true thing. Here we have Alan Gratz prisoner book about the Holocaust. We have Bud Not Buddy, Boy During the Depression, another Holocaust book, a Titanic story. Out of the Dust is about a little girl who survives the Dust Bowl era, and again we have another Holocaust book, and then someone who was around for the Revolutionary War. So these are all historical fictions, realistic fiction that is set in